You can.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only...
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. It's Tuesday night, which means it's Liam Kennedy from the Shields Gazette. Good evening, Liam.
God, making the headlines, recently not writing them.
You're making the headlines, I know. Anyway, we've got a new sponsor. It's newworkwear.com. You've got to see if you can get your head between that little chef on the end there. Can you look through? Yeah, we
need
to get you on Match Day Live because it's hilarious when there's 10 people on that can get under that builder's hat. Anyway, big shout out to newworkwear.com, specialists in the supply and branding of clothing for the workplace. Excellent to have them on board. They're sponsoring StreamYard this month, so a big thank you to them. And as always, a big shout out to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of snooker tables and pool tables in Wallsend in Newcastle. As always, you've got another little exclusive for us, Liam. And this has something to do with the fans' battle and the letter to the Premier League. So over to you, mate.
So just to briefly summarise what actions have taken place today. Today was the deadline, 4 p.m. Was the deadline for the Premier League to respond to the letter before action that was sent last week. Now, please pick me up. Many people out there would like to do that. They can't pick me up because I'm not a legal expert. I'm a reporter. I write the news, not meant to make it. But effectively, today was the deadline, and the Premier League did respond. They responded 3 hours prior to the deadline, pushed it right up. They had 7 days to do so on anti-competition law claims. We've seen that response. We haven't seen that response. We've seen they have responded. I'll be very clear in my words here. Obviously, now they've asked for an extra 14 days. That would take their response time to these claims to 21 days in total. I'm led to believe that that's seen as more than reasonable. 7 days and 14 days would be more than reasonable, but they're actually asking in total for 21 days to reply to these claims. And I'm actually led to believe a little bit of exclusive here for you guys out there that I'm told the legal team of Newcastle United Consortium Supporters Limited do not agree with the Premier League stance, that they need more time to prepare this case. Time is of the essence, as we all know in this. And that little exclusive there is that there will be, I'm led to believe, a letter sent from the legal team of NCSL to the Premier League, explaining that they do not agree that they need more time. I'll quickly run over what may happen next, because I know a lot of people out there will be asking that question. They'll be saying, where does this action lead? Because I know there's been a lot of criticism of this. As a Newcastle United fan base, we've seemed to be very divided on the main issues. We always seem to divide ourselves up when really, ultimately, this is two fans, two lads, just like me and you, Steve, like the rest of the lads and lasses out there watching this tonight, who want the best for this football club. It seems the people who do not want the best for this football club shout the loudest and get the most credence online. It's bizarre. They all want the best for this football club. So what happens next? The Premier League will either hurry up and do as they've been asked to do and disclose certain documents with regard to this Newcastle United takeover, or they don't, and action is taken. That's what this was, a letter before action. Action will be taken if the Premier League do not respond to this subsequent letter. So I hope that kind of clears things up a little bit on what might happen next with regards to this action. But there's been a lot of criticism, and people have talked about have they really got the balls to follow this through? Yes, they have. They've gone this far. There's been a lot of people made a lot of noise on this takeover process. A lot of fans deserve a hell of a lot of credit because they've got the answers. We are going to get the answers from the Premier League to the real questions that should have been asked and need to be asked. They are going to get them. So I'm interested to see what people want to hear. tonight, because I guess there will be a lot of questions. Some I'll be able to answer, some I may not be able to answer. Because I've been told numerous times over the last 7 days, I'm no legal expert. Of course, some people forget that I may be a little bit of an expert in my own field, though. So ask us anything about the story itself. I'll do my best to explain it. Ask me about the legal intricacies. Unfortunately, I'm not au fait to that kind of information, nor are many of the so-called experts who claim to be. So I would also, although a lot of them make a lot of very, very good points, and I'm respectful in many senses towards anybody out there who remain nameless who wants to be critical of my journalistic integrity. But I would say that they made some good points, some fair points. But ultimately, we've all come out with this decision. We expected the Premier League will ask for more time. But the exclusive tonight is that I don't think they're going to be given more time, and they'll be advised of that potentially within the next week or so, 24 hours potentially. This could happen very quickly.
Yeah, these guys are no mugs. They're professional people. And, from my perspective, there couldn't be anybody better doing this. And because they're not part of any organizations, they're not part of a fans group, it seems to have rattled a few people out there. It's all become about egos on Twitter. I've just, I did entertain one troll last night. And there seems to be this misconception that people who are involved in the NUFC matters are some part of a cult now. We're getting called a cult.
You're my promoter. I've heard.
So there we go. David Koresh, aka Steve Wraith, is in the house. I think it's quite a good photo, isn't it? Yeah, that was me. That was me doing a bit for a Jimi Hendrix documentary, which premiered on Sky over lockdown. So yeah, but
the Halloween costume there, I think was I took your costume for the weekend.
The similarities between me and David Koresh are there. Like, so if you want to say that I'm a cult leader, then by all means say it. It doesn't bother me. Chuck as much as you want to chuck at us on social media, really doesn't bother us. And I had another one last night, just because we were celebrating the fact that there's 33,000 subscribers, Liam. Big thank you to you for being part of the journey. And the fact we've got 33,000 subscribers on the channel seemed to attract a lot of jealousy as well. A lot of people hiring stats on. There was a badly edited picture went up last night to say that we'd actually bought subscribers. Unbelievable. The channel's been up for years. It's gradually built up over the years with different stuff on it. And we're happy doing what we're doing. We've got no animosity towards anybody else, and I think that's what shone through. And a lot of people saying you handled yourself well last week, Liam. You certainly did, mate. There's no point in getting involved in cyber wars and cyber battles, and we don't need to. You speak the truth, I speak the truth, and essentially all we're doing is passing on what we can to the people who like to watch our shows. And I enjoy a lot of the other shows that are out there. When I get time to watch them, I sit down. This isn't a competition. It isn't about going out and trying to be the best. It's about going out there and just producing content. And of course, the reason that we started producing the content on this show, and I keep going on about it, and sorry to those of you who keep hearing it, is because we got involved in this horrendous situation, COVID and lockdown. So at the moment, I can churn out 7 shows a week. Will I still be doing that if we ever go back to some kind of normality? Probably not. But I will still keep the channel going. I will still keep the shows going. But, at the moment, it's been absolutely fantastic. It's been good for my mental health, and it's been good for everybody involved. So, as I say, well done. And speaking of mental health, I was speaking to Liam about this a little earlier, and everybody who's involved really in NUFC matters is backing this. On Thursday, this is what we're going to launch. Phone a Friend campaign. It's free. Don't have to do anything. All we're asking is our NUFC Matters watchers, call a family member or a friend that you haven't spoken to for a while. We're going to be locked down again. And it's going to be another 4 weeks of this, potentially going into longer, with the government's announcement today that we're now going to expect, potential terrorism on our doorstep over the next few weeks as well. Some people who live alone will be feeling absolutely terrified. And from our perspective, we just want to try and encourage people to phone a friend. We'll be launching this property on Thursday. So please have a think about it. If you'd like to support it, you can, we'll be sticking this up on social media. You can download it, stick it out there, and just make sure you phone somebody you haven't spoken to for ages. And it doesn't have to be anybody who maybe you're particularly concerned about. Could just be somebody you've lost touch with. But please, support our Phone a Friend campaign. It's something which we all believe passionately in, and it's something that we really want to make a big success of over the next few weeks. It's sad that we've got to do it, but I'm sure you agree, Liam, that there's a lot of people out there will be really feeling this situation we'll find ourselves very difficult to deal with.
Oh yeah, it's difficult. If you think it's difficult for yourself, there's always somebody out there struggling as well. And the best way to get through these situations is to make sure you talk to people, and that's all what this campaign's promoting really is just everybody try and stay together. I mean, Steve, you launched this show, this 7 days a week show, just to try and keep people's spirits up. And I think, judging by the feedback that we get from this show in particular, that has as a real help. If there's many critics as there are out there, and there are a few, I think there's a lot of people see this as like a real positive action, and yeah, I'm all behind it, and that's why I've stuck by this and stayed doing this, because I enjoy the interaction with fans out there. Yes, of course, people will say it gives you that little hour in the limelight, and I'm not chasing that. I've never chased that. I'll let me words on the page do the talking effectively. But it's nice to be able to get that little bit of personal interaction. I like the questions coming in, and I like the interaction on Twitter as well. So let's all just keep it respectful, keep it clean, because there's always somebody at the other end. And I'm not just talking about me. I'm talking about people who may have disagreed with me in recent times. There's also people out there, just people you don't know. There's always somebody, if you're going to put something hurtful or disrespectful, somebody else is going to read that, and you don't know their thoughts, their situation, their landscape, and their life. So I would always just urge you to just be really careful what you say, because it can be particularly damaging.
Of course it can. Just to let everybody know, ADB1604, you're on tonight. Thanks for coming on, fella. You did mention Super Chat. Well, it's added now. So anybody wants to make a select donation to the channel, by all means do it. You can join Super Chat. It's a good fun. What we're going to do next week on Monday night, on Ladies' Night, is I think Sav's been practicing a Borat impersonation. But any donations made on the night time will be donated to the food bank direct from us. So that will be next week. But have a bit of a practice with it if you want to just see how it works. Super Chat is down below. Just look for the little $sign. Anyway, let's get on to the questions. We'll always get lots of questions on Tuesday night, Liam. So Daniel Woodward says, in your opinion, do you expect the Premier League to open their doors in 14 days? He very much doubts it. Copy and paste excuse coming. What do you expect to happen next?
Well, I'll just keep that question on, Steve, because I'll address that. The last bit first, copy and paste excuse coming. It won't be a copy and paste excuse. I think if we were going to say a copy and paste excuse, we would have seen that today. The fact is that they've employed solicitors to take this very, very seriously. They're asking for time, shows the legitimacy of these claims. Potentially, you may argue differently, but it also gives legitimacy to the cause. But the Premier League are taking this seriously. If they weren't taking it seriously, they probably would have batted it away by now. So I think we'll see what happens next on that front. Do I expect the Premier League to open their doors? This will be with regards to the disclosure of certain documents with regards to the Newcastle United takeover. No, I think that is the absolute last thing in the world that the Premier League would do. I can't second guess this legal situation because they are complex. They can change in a heartbeat, depending on what anybody may say. Because that's why you have legal experts involved. They pick these things apart. But I do not believe the Premier League will want your public, with the help of one of the best QCs in this country on anti-competition law, the best of the best, searching through with his significant team that he'll employ, sifting through documentation, specific documentation with regards, probably, this is all desperate from me, Project Big Six, Big Picture, the Big Six, all of them breaking away, probably things about Liverpool and Tottenham. We've heard Amanda Staveley talk about Liverpool and Tottenham being particularly against this takeover. So these are the kind of things, documents that you imagine, the communications, the emails, the WhatsApps that they would want to look through. Is that really the door that the Premier League want to open? I'm really not sure they will.
Yeah, exactly. Liam, if the consortium fails for whatever reason, am I right to assume that the big guns will get involved then? So this is obviously being pursued by the supporters. I suppose what Mikey's asking is, Nick DeMarco is waiting in the wings, something which we believe will be a lot more long and drawn out. This is a shortcut really to success.
Very much so, and we know that time is of the essence. It's nothing new for me to stay on here that this deal won't stay on the table forever. It really won't. So this needs to happen fast. And the one thing that I would make clear, and I've got notes today, just to make sure that nobody starts picking me apart legally. I have actually got notes here, and I have been briefed, by the way. So what I would say is that the thing about the time being of the essence is this would be a cat. It's been described, it was mentioned. That's how it would go to court. It would be a cat. And the legal team have advised the claimants this process maximum will take 5 months. That shows you how quick this can be done. Mike Ashley, anybody else may not be able to do that in the same speed. We've seen a lot of people talking who don't know the facts recently, talking about the intricacies of this deal and why it'll take X amount of time, why it might take 12 months just to get to the standpoint of court. This isn't what it's about. It's anti-competition. And for that reason, it can be done much faster. The cat thing is the key. Cat fast track is the key. And that is something that the legal teams, who are the best of the best, the NCSL have got absolute confidence in the people they've got dealing with this legally. And they believe, and they have been told by that legal team, this could be a maximum of 5 months. It also regularly is heard within 3 months. So deal with that information what you will. I'm sure that information will be picked apart online by people who know better than me. But that is my information. And that information comes from the claimants, who have also got that from their legal team, who, like I say, in anti-competition and in this particular cat cases, are the best of the best in the UK.
Okay, that clears that up. For a lot of people saying, does this clear the way for PIF? If this goes through, a lot of people still don't believe PIF's at the table. They think maybe they've disappeared into the ethos, but they are still at the table.
Yeah, they are there. They are at the table. There's a lot of people saying this deal hasn't changed much. It hasn't changed a massive amount, no, because they believe the deal that was there in the first place and the tests that they went through were legitimate and they passed them. They don't believe they can fail what the questions were in the owners and directors test. It's meant to be an open and closed case, really, and it looked that way up until probably about June, and then all the things changed. And I'm not going to go into tonight into the timelines of where things might have gone wrong, give false accusations towards certain individuals on the Premier League board. But we all kind of know the issues that have arisen. Do I believe the PIF might walk away if this doesn't go through within that 5 months? I don't know. But I believe that if there is a live case going on, PIF are more than happy to continue with this deal. And so too are PCP, who've been championing this cause all the way through, and Mike Ashley in particular. Who'd have thought we're in a position now, we've said this numerous times, where everybody's fighting in the same direction. And what we need everybody to be fighting in the right direction. This deal can go through. I'm not for 1 second saying it will. It's not going to be easy, but this can happen. It has to have the support of fans. What's the point in us all fighting each other online when you can get behind something? Two of your own, two lads who bleed black and white, they're Newcastle United fans through and through, been home and away with this football club, love it. Two lads are taking this places other people have not been able to do. Let's get behind them. NUST, get behind these boys. Forget the skepticism. Get behind them. All the other fan groups, get behind these boys. They're doing a good thing for our football club. I'm not saying it's going to work. I can't give that guarantee, but it's got a bloody chance. Get behind it. Just because it's not your idea doesn't mean you shouldn't get behind it. That's really what we're saying. But sadly, as I've said to you before, this has been the problem within our fan base for years. Those who want to put their heads above the parapet do it for a reason, and they all want to be seen to be the person who fans turn to. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen where you're the one person who everyone wants to listen to, I'm afraid. And you can have a trust, but, the supporters trust. It's fantastic. It's got 14,000 members. Yeah, great.
but that's a tiny percentage still of our fan base. 52,000 people go to the games for starters, but worldwide, 14,000 is still, such a small percentage of our fan base, and a lot of those people will have joined up, and some of them won't be able to get to the games. Some people will be on the other side of the world. It's unity and strength, yes, but on an occasion like this, I 100% agree with you. You've got to work together. Do you know what I mean? You've got to support these guys. It's a huge opportunity, but they're doing well. Good luck to them. I hope they get the end game that we want. Wayne Bennett's asking, is it time for Big Mike to get involved now?
He might. There's absolutely nothing stopping him running a different action with regards. This is an anti-competition. There's nothing stopping him do that, and I think we'll probably see things play out in the next few weeks. There could be any number of twists and turns in this. It's impossible for me to sit here and second guess, third guess where this might go and what might happen. There are so many plates spinning here that anything could literally happen. But the fact is, we didn't think we had a takeover 4 or 5 months ago, and now we've got the potential to get one. So that's why I'm urging that, get behind these lads, get behind the message that I've been given from the claimants is they're really unequivocal in their stance that get behind Steve Bruce, get behind Newcastle United, because one of the clear and present dangers to any deal going through, never mind just their deal going to court, any deal, any takeover at Newcastle United, is the risk of relegation. If Newcastle United are in the relegation zone in January, you may well see the Saudi money walk. It could easily happen. Newcastle United need to keep their heads above water. They need to keep fighting, and that is the message from the claimants. They're, like I said, they're black and white through and through. They want the best for this football club, and they want Newcastle to stay in this division. And in particular, that gives a stronger chance that any kind of takeover can go through.
Of course it does. Eddie Garner, yes, is the answer. We do still think the takeover has legs, mate, 100%. I've only had one wobble in all the time since 2017, and it was only for one day, and Liam knows all about it. We both had a conversation, and I was going, I think that's it. And I even came on the show, I think, and said, that's it. But after that, after speaking to the right people, my mojo was back, and I've been 99.99999% all the way through now, not 100% all the way through. So that probably makes it a little bit better. West Cumbria Mag says Nick DeMarco is too busy making bread. George says, does the amount of money that Ashley can throw at a legal challenge, does that equate to a serious challenge? Yeah. I.e., does that mean if we have the best QC in the business, could we beat the Premier League in court? I mean, I don't think it'll go to court, Liam, because the crux of the matter here is the Premier League do not want that dirty linen washed in public, and there's a hell of a lot of it.
Well, it is. You only have to look. Look, we don't know the evidence that any of these QCs or any of these legal teams might have put together. All we know is what is in the public domain, and the things that we've seen in the public domain about the potential collusion, the selecting of Premier League chief executives and chairmen, the interviews with the top 2 football clubs to get the second interview to get them through to the job, all these kind of things, the secret negotiations that have gone on behind the scenes. We only have to look what is out in the public domain to think it's got a chance, and it could potentially bring the takeover that we all crave. And that's the thing for me. That surprised me last week, I'm going to be honest, the criticism that this deal got, because I don't get where the criticism came from. I get some skepticism, but I think I did say initially, then just wait and see how this plays out. It might not be successful, but just wait and see how it plays out, because there are legs in this. Everybody's still at the table. The takeover buyers still want the deal to go through. The seller is only entertaining and has only ever entertained this deal. He's not entertained some chancers that may well have turned up from America, some chancers that may well have turned up from Singapore. He's not entertained them in the slightest, nor will he, because he wants this deal. This is the real deal, the proper deal. And this could be potentially the last chance for this deal to go through. We don't know that. I think just get behind it. That can be my only stance on it. Because we've gone through so many issues, so much pain over the last 7 or 8 months. I think we're going to have a good idea as to whether we're going to have a deal probably pretty soon. And I think that's going to be best for all of us, because we can either crack on and move on, which wouldn't be great. We know that wouldn't be great. Don't be fooled by the Mike Ashley that we see now. We know that's not the real Mike Ashley. We've known him long enough to know that. So we need this takeover. And you know what? If I can help in any way, if you can, Steve, if anybody out there can help and push this takeover on and get everyone behind it, then I'll do my bit, because this club means a lot to me. Really means a lot to me. And it just hurts us when you see that kind of criticism last week. There's no need for it. I'm a big lad. I can take it on my shoulders, take it on the chin. That's fine. But ultimately, surely we all want the same thing. We all want Newcastle United to be better than what they are. I certainly do. So I hope everyone else does too.
Yeah, Malcolm Gordon. Yes, it's the same people at the table. A lot of positivity coming in for you tonight, mate. So they're giving you lots of love, the watchers. And yeah, Laura says everyone has the same aim at the end of the day, which is right. Yeah, it's exactly what Liam is saying. Tom Dixon says, Liam, if PIF did come back in to buy our club, will they have to do the owners and directors test all over again?
No,
it's already passed. Yeah, that's the daft thing. It's passed. You know, the owners and directors test was passed by everyone. They just wanted the state to say that it was running the club when it clearly wasn't. It was PIF. It's as simple as that. Chris McCarthy says, evening Steve, evening Liam. Question for Liam. Are PIF really still at the table? Surely they would have walked away by now. Where's Amanda Staveley? She said nothing. I'm confused. A lot of those kind of comments come in every week, don't they? But ultimately, they've got to keep quiet.
They can't be spouting off saying this, that, and the other, because this is a live case. That they've got their own legal teams working on this behind the scenes as well. Remember, so nobody's going to try and prejudice any potential case that could come to fruition. So it's no surprise that they're quiet. And I'm sure when the time is right for these people to speak, they will speak, as they did in the summer.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about football, because we got lost in takeover talk. We've nearly dominated the show with it. Gothmog's Pajamas says, how mad could that be? We could go joint third on Friday with West Brom, Villa, Fulham, Leeds and Palace in the next 7 games. We could be top 4 for Christmas Day. Long live the Bruce. To be honest, he got it right at the weekend, and you don't often hear me say that. It's a pity I wasn't doing the South Shields Gazette fans forum thing, because it would have been the most positive one I'd ever done. But yes, the mighty Steve Bruce not only picked the right team, he got the right substitutions, and if he keeps on doing that, I might have to get rid of the pie photo. So
don't get rid of that quality, man.
No, don't get rid of that. But yeah, he's done all right, hasn't he, at the weekend? And he dismissed another myth by not putting Joe Linton on.
I know, that was a surprise, wasn't it? No, Newcastle were really good. I think I was there for the first time this season. I was actually at the game.
Hey, what was it like? What was it like going into the stadium and that then, mate? I mean, it must have been surreal.
Strange, very strange. But I wouldn't want it to stay forever, but I actually quite enjoyed it. There was a realism about it. So in the din of a 52,000 capacity stadium, you don't hear the shouts, the panic in the box. It was quite enlightening to hear. You could hear every word almost, and I quite like that. I quite liked to sort of hear orders being barked out that you normally can't hear because there's such a hum around the ground. It was good. It was good in that sense. But obviously, we want fans back. It's ridiculous to think that could continue forever. But he got it right. He did get it right. I do like this 5. I like this 5. It seems to have a good balance. And I take some criticism online for my criticism of John Joe Shelvey. But I think when you put Jeff Hendrick, I think he got off to a bad start. He did get off to a bad start.
Good player, man.
But he plays in that midfield anchor role. And you know what he does? Makes the lads around them look better players. Yeah. Isn't that what that kind of role you're meant to do?
I was a bit nervous before the game. Sorry to interrupt you. I was a bit nervous before the game when I saw Longstaff coming in alongside Hendrick, and then I thought about it, and I thought, I wonder whether Bruce is just having a look and seeing who the best partnership is while Shelby's out the team. And I'll respect Bruce a lot more if he doesn't put Shelby back in when he eventually gets back. But I thought Sean Longstaff had a good game alongside Hendrick.
Excellent. So Hendrick just did he hasn't got the Hollywood pass of a Shelby.
No.
He probably hasn't got the tackle of a Hayden. But what he did was he constantly took the ball in and always wanted to move it forward. Just played good passes, kept things ticking over. And like I say, he had two lads in Almiron and Sean Longstaff either side of him who've got legs. He doesn't have to do any of that. He just had to keep it ticking and moving over. And I thought that was actually a really good balance in that midfield. Sean Longstaff, like you say, was pinging things all over. Nearly got a couple of goals himself. Looked like a real throwback to the best Sean Longstaff that we've seen. And fingers crossed we can get his brother back involved soon enough, because he's a fantastic footballer too. But the two fullbacks, Jacob Murphy's defensive work really impressed me. He's a winger who's been chucked in there and really seems to be learning quite fast. And Jamal Lewis, I've said this on here before, I don't think he suits being in a 4. This 5 really suits him quite well, because it just allows him to be that little bit further up the park, less defending, more attacking, and I quite like him in that sense. But the one who really stood out for me, incredible. The thing you don't see on TV is the little sleights of movement, the goal kicks, the little shoves of defenders, the clever movement. Callum Wilson was so impressive. As a lone front man, he's got literally everything you could want. Lacks maybe an inch or two in height, but more than makes up for that. He's agile, he's quick, he gets about the park, he's a nuisance to defenders. And just for example, things you don't see on TV is when Darlow has a goal kick, he's not only just standing back to back with the defender, he'll dart behind the defender when the kick's taken, then come at him from a different angle. That's what you see from good centre forwards, clever ones who are always just trying to get that little inch of just beat the defender. I was so impressed with a lot of them. Come on now, it was only Everton who, although despite their position in the division, decided to play a team full of midfielders with one centre forward and didn't look anything like the team that we've seen in the early part of the season, missing both fullbacks, missing Hammers and others, Richarlison. So we can't get too carried away, but realistically, Newcastle are ticking along all right. 11 points from the first 7 games. If you'd said that at the start of the season, you would have snapped your hand off, especially in the last 2 games, picking 4 points up from 2 sides who arguably will probably be just on the fringes, 6, 7, 8 of that top 6. Even Everton, if they get back to form, could be in that top 6. You never know the way that the league is at the moment. But there's a lot to like about Newcastle, and I think a lot of people criticised the first half. But again, I actually quite liked it. I thought the first half, they looked like a side who weren't going to concede a boatload of chances. Far too often we've seen teams just plough through Newcastle, take them to pieces at all angles. And Everton didn't look close to doing that. Wolves didn't really do that the week before, a little bit more, but it was much more of a solid performance against Everton. I think that balance of taking Fraser out and putting in Sean Longstaff just gave that little bit more of a tighter unit in the middle of the park. I think the only person, arguably, who doesn't really suit this system is probably our star man. Alan Saint-Maximin probably doesn't quite suit this.
He looked jaded at the weekend as well. He's definitely carrying an injury. I mean, he's been kicked up in the air about 50 times this season already, and he looked as if he was carrying something, a leg injury, something. He just looks as if he's walking very gingerly, running not as much. And I know that system, you're right, it doesn't suit him. But I think a lot of people on Ladies' Night were suggesting maybe he's chucking Ryan Fraser in and giving Saint-Maximin a bit of a rest at the weekend.
Yeah, I think that could well happen, because we've got that sort of telepathic connection, which was relit again in James's Park between Ryan Fraser and Callum Wilson. He just knows where to be, and he knows where to put the ball. That's the 2 lads that play together for a long time, and they're excellent doing it. And it wouldn't. I don't think many people would complain if that was the case. For me, Alan Saint-Maximin, he's better playing with all the game in front of him. He's not as good being further forward, picking the ball up. If he's got space to run into 3 or 4 defenders to weave through an attack from 40 yards from goal, he's much more dangerous than he is picking the ball up 20 yards from goal where it's tight, or he's got his back to a defender. So ultimately, I'll probably you could be right on the injury front. I don't know if that's the case. But what I would say to Alan Saint-Maximin if I was Steve Bruce is just if you're playing that role, just get in positions where you used to. I'll let you go free. drop out to the left and come and attack it from 40 yards, because we haven't seen much of that in the last 2 games. And like you say, he's played a lot of games. He had injuries last season. He was in and out. It could be the case that it wouldn't doom the world. It would doom the world a good just to drop him out of that team at South.
Yeah, I agree. Lots of questions coming in. As always, we probably won't get through them all. We only do an hour. And I know Liam's got to get off and write a story the night. Otherwise, we'd probably extend it. And he's got a busy week with a family. Jonathan Collins says, he's got 2 questions, but we'll go through this one. Have this group got the money to see this through? And if this speeds it up, why did Ashley not do this? Because he can't.
So, he actually can't. And also, yes. This isn't saber rattling. They do want to push this deal through. This was a letter before action, and these guys mean business. They are legitimate business people with legitimate collections. Both of these 2 guys wrote letters to the Premier League in the summer, so the Premier League were well advised, should have taken this seriously back then. And this comes back to the idea that they believe the Premier League have had enough time on this to assess their case, because these points that were made in the legal letter 7 days ago were all made by the 2 guys, Gordon and Keith, back in the summer. So they mean business. They know what they're talking about. They've got the right people behind them. And I genuinely don't believe that funds will be an issue on this particular case.
Yep, okay. Paul McDonough, as an Everton fan, he says we made Newcastle look better than what they are. They're an awful side. Paul, I'm not going to argue with you. Newcastle got lucky because you had too many people suspended. I think if Richarlison and Rodriguez, for example, were playing, it might have been a different game. But ultimately, Paul, they weren't playing, and Newcastle beat your team. So it's not rocket science. Unfortunately for you, Steve Bruce is carrying more luck than anybody. He's got 4-leaf clovers all over his pockets, coats, everything. So that's how he gets all that luck. But I'm not going to complain. I'm a Newcastle fan, and I want to see we do well. And at the minute, we're 2 points off the top 2, and we're in the quarterfinals of the cup. So at the minute, it's joyous occasions being a Newcastle fan. Derek Sharp says NUST are going to get left behind. Could a new supporters association be launched behind this legal challenge? I don't think so, Derek. I'll answer that question myself. I don't think so, mate. Look, the trust need a bit of a shake-up. They've had their election. There's people gone in who could potentially shake it up. I don't think you're going to get any change until we see a change at the top. I like Alex. He's a great lad. For me, you need a new direction, and you need to start working together. And the trust need to start working with the other supporters groups. And I'm sure that'll happen at some point, but I think it needs a change at the top. Is my honest opinion. Mark Graham says, it was noticeable that Jamie, Ruben, DeMarco and Amanda's husband didn't retweet the fans' tweet today. Is that relevant? I would say no. Mark Choke says, a huge organisation in the Premier League. Why didn't they need more time? Because that's what they do. They're stalling all the time. Wayne Bennett.
That's the thing, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
through this process, and that's the belief running through all of this, is that all they've wanted to do is delay. And I think they genuinely believe if they can delay this long enough, it will go away. These guys have shown a bit of action. They've got the balls to have done this, put their money where their mouth is, and attack the Premier League like we all wanted everybody to. And they deserve credit for that. And one thing I did forget to mention earlier, and I want to make sure that I mention this. We're not just dealing with guys here who are just regular Joe public. These are a couple of really astute, clever business people running this action on behalf of Newcastle United Consortium Supporters Limited. And another little bit of information that people might not know, it's not really out in the public domain, is that one of these guys has actually fought a substantial anti-competition claim before. One that will probably end up being is probably bigger than this one. So we're not talking about guys here who don't know their way around a courtroom, don't know their way around the law. We're talking about guys who really know what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Wayne Bennett says, is it the plan, guys, to hopefully get this done in time to use the January transfer window? My understanding, and I think yours was the same, Liam, when we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago when this all started to kick off, was that PIF were cranking the pressure up, I would say, is probably the right way of putting it, and saying, we don't want to be waiting another 12 months, which potentially could be the case with DeMarco's case and Ashley's case. And I think this is why this is come to bear from the supporters. But PIF aren't walking away. They haven't walked away. I get the impression they're sitting in the background, but they would like to find a quicker route, and the fans have come up with the answer.
Look, you've got to think about Newcastle United is they're in a really high risk industry. Newcastle United, this deal might not be worth 300 plus million in 6 months' time. If Newcastle United are in the Championship, it's worth half that, if that. Such is the gulf between the two divisions. It's a really high risk play, and that's why this thing could be pushed through quickly, and should be, in my opinion, pushed through quickly, because this deal might not come around again for Newcastle United, and this deal might not be worth this amount of money to anybody, any buyer, good, bad, or indifferent, in 6 months' time. So this deal can't wait for 4 years to tear up the Premier League and start all over again. This has to be done now. And I would suspect the Premier League, knowing the skeletons that they seem to have had just by using things that are out in the public domain, if they've got those kind of skeletons and that rings true, they're not going to want this to go to court either. And hopefully we can all get the resolution that we want, because there are some resolution specialists on this. There are some anti-competition specialists, some of the best in the business. So let's just keep faith in what they're trying to do. The support for this, we've seen it, endorsements from the consortium, endorsements from other people, prominent figures, and there's some good guys behind this who've got the heart in the right place, and they might just be able to deliver something that some of the big boys haven't been able to do.
Yep. Lots of people chipping in about various things, saying we should buy Steve Bruce a kebab for the weekend. He deserves it. Look, you've got to give him praise. It's all very well being critical of somebody, but you give him praise, and ultimately he deserved it at the weekend. Did see a message there from Jason Carter. Desperate news, Liam, for non-league fans like you and I. You big South Shields fan yourself, me, obviously Dunstan, and no football now from Thursday until lockdown is lifted. So the seasons are suspended, and it's an absolute nightmare for non-league football, isn't it?
It is so sad. I think it's this lockdown now. If this extends, we're going to now start seeing the real trickle down of clubs going bust, and it's so sad. It is sad because they just can't exist in this kind of climate. Histories, good clubs with good histories. South Shields have got a little bit of a reprieve. I will mention that. Obviously, I'm actually going on Saturday down to Cheltenham. So I'll see them in the FA Cup first round. A little bit of history for South Shields. That's the paper that I work for, the Shields Gazette. So we're covering that. I'll be down there. And there is some little ones. There's other clubs in the area. I've also got that first round to look forward to. But unfortunately, not enough. And not enough clubs will be able to bring in the money to keep their heads above water. And it's going to be a really sad situation, because non-league football in the Northeast is the lifeblood. You see, it's well supported. A lot of good players playing it. A lot of fantastic clubs with fantastic cup records, league records. It's just sad. It's sad, but that's the world we're in at the moment, unfortunately. The longer this goes on, it's going to touch everybody. Even if it hasn't yet, it's going to touch everybody in a financial sense. It's going to rip money from your pockets. Potentially take loved ones from you, make you ill. It's just such a sad situation, and unfortunately,
it is.
We're pretty helpless. We just have to follow the rules and be safe and be sensible. That's the best that I can advise everyone to do. It's such a sad situation, but it's not going to do anybody any good when they've got a football club to run or part-time wages to pay or whatever it may be. It's going to be disastrous for non-league football across the country.
James says he hasn't been impressed with Jamal Lewis. Chris McCarthy says he's been awful. His distribution's terrible. He can't tackle, he can't cross. See why we got him from a relegation team. Liam, would you change the left back? I mean, I thought he had one of his better games at the weekend. But me and you obviously aren't hitting it up with some of our people in the chat. A lot of people don't like Hendrick. I think the fact is that Hendrick does a lot of work off the ball. That he does a lot of the dirty work that you don't see. And the lack of a creative player, like you said at the top of the programme, that's the problem. Shelvey's Hollywood ball is what gets him back in the team because he likes to go forward and he creates something. Hendrick's going to rush, is going to get stuck in and do a lot of the dirty work. As for Jamal Lewis, he's a young lad and he comes from a team that got relegated, but he's a bit like Perez when he first came to the club. He's like a development player, isn't he? He's like, I know that he's had a season in the Premier League and he's been relegated, but he's a youngster. He's still learning his craft. But, I think it's a bit harsh. I don't think it's been awful distribution. I mean, he put a great ball in at the weekend, I thought. Did he not put Fraser in for Fraser to cross to Wilson for the goal?
Yeah, he did. Do you know what? I'm going to stick by him because I've been honest in this and I've been critical of Lewis in the first few weeks. It's easy to forget he's a 21-year-old because he had a big fee against his name and he's our answer. We needed a left back and he's come in and filled that role okay. Recently, I think he's been much improved, and particularly on Sunday, he was massively improved because he's probably now playing in his proper position. The same goes for Jeff Hendrick. He's now probably playing in a more natural position for himself, having got off to a bad start. And I think we'll probably only be able to really sort of know whether these players fit in well with this team when Steve Bruce decides what the hell he wants to play. Does he want to play this formation, that system? Are we going to sit back? Are we going to attack? What personnel is going to come in? Because it's a bit of a lottery at the moment. And until we get a fixed formation and system, with fixed personnel who play 10, 15 games on the bounce, I think that's only fair when we can make a judgment. And I'll be honest, I think Lewis suits this position. He's a little bit further forward, and that suits him better. And I thought he was excellent on Sunday. And I thought Jeff Hendrick, like I've said before, made the players around him look better because of the work that he did. He hasn't got the tackle of a Hayden. He hasn't got the Hollywood ball, as you said, of a Shelvey. But what he has got is he'll buzz around and he'll keep the ball moving and keep it moving forward. That's sometimes what you need in a midfield anchor role, not the other way what we're seeing. It's not the old defensive midfielder where you just need somebody to break the play up and do nothing else. Your midfield anchor needs to do a little bit more in the modern game. And I think Hendrick's probably the one who ticks the most boxes in that sense. But the proof of the pudding's in the eating, and we'll find out if he gets the opportunity to play 4 or 5 games in that role and still doesn't perform, then I'll start criticising him because you can't really judge somebody when they've been banged out on the right-hand side. And he wasn't banged out on the right-hand side in the same kind of formation that he played at Burnley, because at Burnley he was played much further forward. He was playing a 10 role and things like that. I think he's just a centre midfielder. He's an old 8. He can go both ways. He can keep the ball moving, and he's busy and energetic and fit. And I like him in that role. But I'm not going to judge him 100% until 4 or 5 games down the line.
Certainly says if you had to bet on one of these two outcomes, which one would your money be on? 1, top half finish. 2, take over. 2, take over for me.
I think I'm not going to. I'm not getting involved. I'm not getting involved.
No comment. If Newcastle are in the same position this time next year and the Premier League have still not said anything, will PIF walk away? I think everybody will walk away. I think we'll all be sick by then, won't we?
Yeah. This won't go on indefinitely. It won't.
Yeah. Jeff says, is Red Rose Michelle playing TIG hockey tonight? I don't know. Apparently she's off on one again. I've just checked Twitter and she is. So look, I like her. She's a nice lass, but, she can't come on the show on a Tuesday night. We've got better things to be doing as well. She's got her own show. She's got her own place to speak and tell people things. She certainly, put stuff out there today. But, why get involved in having a Twitter spat? I really don't know. It's an absolute waste of time. We won't be entertaining it any further. So good luck to her and see what the outcome is, shall we say. And if Newcastle get taken over, we'll all be happy and we can all start talking about something else. Yes, we know, Richard. That's what we've said. Swag Dog says, great show.
Like somebody put in a question. I haven't seen it. I don't know. I don't pay particularly any attention to it. I did last week. I probably shouldn't have even replied to some of the things that I did, but I thought she was calling to question me journalistic integrity, which I would never mislead Newcastle United fans. She says she bleeds black and white. I'll let you be the judge of that. I certainly do. And I've got no other reason to say that than this is where I was brought up. This is where I'm from. My family, my heritage, my history. I love this football club and I would never mislead people out there. So that's what I didn't like about it. Call is wrong on the legal sense. Look, I'm not a legal expert. I'd love to have chatted with her and she can talk us through the intricacies of this. But she didn't want to do that. And that's fine by me. She's not obliged to do it. She can say what she wants. And if she's saying stuff tonight, just let her talk, man. People blow a lot of hot air. She makes some really valid points on legal sense, and she actually provides some really important analysis on legal things for a Newcastle United fan base. But look, she doesn't know the full facts. That's all I would say. And I'll let you know now, she is not, to my knowledge, an anti-competition specialist. So, or has a particularly wide knowledge in that role. Haven't seen what she does have, according to her website, what specialism she does deal. So we'll see. I don't want to get in another spat. I'm not. I wouldn't. In my life to be. I've got enough going on. Life throws enough rubbish in your face than to have to deal with this kind of thing online. So I'm not even going to go there.
It's ridiculous. Blunt Ted, he says, I know you're not my best mates right now. Look, it's an exchange of views, mate. This is another one on Twitter last night where people are getting their knickers in a twist. I've got nothing against you, Blunt Ted. And if you want to follow Blunt Ted Talks, he's got a YouTube show. Jump on it. He's got Newcastle content on there. So by all means, go and have a look at that. Nothing against you, mate, at all. Somebody didn't pass a message on. Obviously, because this person's got a lot more on his mind at the moment. I'm widely available on all social media platforms. If you've got anything to ask me, by all means, ask us. I don't have my Twitter inbox open because I get inundated and I haven't got time to answer them. And for me, I'd rather not have it open because it just looks rude if you don't answer people. And I did answer virtually everybody in the first 3 months of this takeover saga. It's at the start of lockdown, but I haven't got time to do it. I've got books to write, I've got family, and I've got other things that I need to be doing. So that's why my inbox isn't open. So to your question, if the consortium say they won't extend 14 days, then how long will the Premier League have to respond? Considering the deadline's done, will it go straight to court?
Like I've said, I've explained the situation. What the next step, my advice that I've been given on this, the next step is that the letter will be sent back to the Premier League advising that the legal teams believe that the Premier League have had enough time. That is my legal advice on this. Sorry, not my legal advice. That is my advice from speaking to people. And that's the only advice I'm going to give. If you want legal advice, go to somebody else on Twitter. There's a lot of people out there willing to give you advice. Go to them. Yeah,
a lot of people asking what your view is in Almiron. Lead writer in the Chronicle gave him a 6. You were there. You were live at the game. What did you do? Do you do marks out of 10 for the players?
Miles, my good colleague Miles Stafford did the ratings. I think a 6 is fair enough. He's probably a 7. Probably a 7. I would have given him a 7 because I think he's energetic. There's a lot of defensive work in this system, which takes away a little bit of the attacking element that he's got. But I think there was a good midfield balance, and I think all three of them in that particular game. I'm not saying it's going to work forward. In that particular game, they were really complementary of each other in that midfield.
Yeah, I personally thought they were, 100%. Let's look ahead to Friday night, mate. Friday night football. I don't mind a bit of Friday night football. I prefer it to Monday night football, definitely, yeah. But Friday night football, Newcastle away. Obviously, it's Southampton. Again, as I keep saying, it doesn't really matter whether you're home or away during this pandemic. But the rumours coming out of Southampton are that Danny Ings is going to be unavailable, but he's 50-50, I think. But what's your take on that game? It's not usually a happy hunting ground. It's an 8 o'clock kick-off. It's live on Sky, not pay-per-view. Of course, Newcastle still missing Dubravka, Dwight Gale, Matt Ritchie, and Shelby. As I said already, Danny Ings is, a doubt, shall we say. A few other players missing, but it's always a tough fixture.
Danny Ings would be a massive miss for them. He's a fantastic goal scorer who's just had too many injuries in his time, and is now really getting his opportunity to shine. So he's had such a positive impact since he's gone to Southampton. The goals he scored last season and this season. If he wasn't playing, I think that would be a massive boost to Newcastle United. But you've said before, we've never done well down there, have we? It's always been a really difficult place to go in Newcastle to get results, whether it was the Dell or whether it's St Mary's. It's always been really tough. Does the Friday night make a difference? I'm not really sure. I think if Newcastle United can come away with any kind of result, a draw will be a really, really positive one. But just got to keep our fingers crossed, and that's a horrible thing to say. Keep our fingers crossed that that Newcastle United can, that Southampton will be without Danny Ings, because it just makes Newcastle United's chances so much better. Because they haven't got a player who can really come in and replace him.
Yeah, last time we beat Southampton on a Friday night, we won 3-0. Kieran Dyer banging the first in, won me a nice bet that. Of course, it was the last game we played before the last lockdown. Last season, we went to Southampton, we won 1-0 with St Maximin getting the goal.
Yeah, we did. St Maximin got that late goal in Newcastle. It was a really, really tight, quite dull game, to be honest. And Newcastle just nicked it. I think it was a red card in that game, wasn't there?
Yeah.
That's what swung it Newcastle United's way. So fingers crossed we can take some confidence from that. But I really rate the manager there, Ralph Hasenhüttl. He's done a fantastic job. Really, really got his team playing some good stuff. And I think they'll do okay this season. So if we can take anything from the game, that would be a real positive. But I think it's going to be tough. Yeah,
but it is going to be tough. Quick one about the strips, mate. Obviously, we mentioned this, I think, last week, but there was a bit of a leak online. I wasn't that impressed by the new strip. Did you happen to see that on social media, the new strip?
Yeah, I've seen it. There were sort of concept kits, weren't there, from Castore. Yeah. Little to be impressed about. I mean, I've not really been impressed with Puma, largely for the quality, but I know a lot of people have. Some of the designs for this season's kit have been quite impressive, much more of an improvement on last season's in particular. But yeah, it's a strange one. It's a strange one to go through. I know Rangers have had some problems with a kit supplier up there. That's the other major side that Castore supply the kit for. There's been issues with stock supplies and the quality, which would be one thing that I would have concerns about, because I don't like the stick-on, iron-on badges that Puma do. I mean, a lot do that now, but it looks terrible. And I would hope that we could see some return to a sewn-on badge, because I know it costs per stitch. Haven't evaluated these kind of things before, but a Newcastle United's badge is rather complex, but it looks so much better, and it's so much better for the consumer as well, because you pay a lot of money for these shirts, you expect them to be good.
Yeah, a lot of people asking what's happening Friday night. Three Amigos will start at 5:30 and we'll do 2 hours, 5:30 to 7:30. And then I'll switch off and come straight back on for Matchday Live for the game. So it's a busy night for me on Friday night. And looking forward to it. So 2 hours of the Three Amigos, and then we'll be doing Matchday Live. So business as usual, we'll just be starting half an hour earlier. Just want to ask you about Sedwin Scott. Obviously, I know a bit more about Sedwin than you do, but he's been offered a trial at Newcastle. Former Dunstan player, was at heaven, banging the goals in, 20-odd goals this season. Given a 4-week trial, could be one of those Jamie Vardy-like stories if he does well.
Look, fair play to the lad, and I like the fact Newcastle United are looking around the local non-league scene to see if they can find these little gems, because you just never know. The lad, I think, was up in Scotland at Dundee, where I used to be, and he was let go. I think he had loan spells in the Scottish Lower League as well. You might be able to fill me in a little bit more on that, Steve, knowing your connections, but I think he did. I think he's had a little bit of he's been all over the place in his young career.
Yeah, he has. He's been abroad as well, I think.
Yeah, so it's one of those that, we wish the lad the best. I hope he's been banging the goals in the local non-league scene. There's a lot of people with rave reviews about the lad. So fingers crossed he can come in and impress. He's got 4 weeks to do so. It's a dream for a lot of them, and it's good to see Newcastle United are looking in the local non-league clubs, because that'll be a boost to anybody. If you're good enough, and you might have missed that opportunity when you're younger, don't worry about dropping out of the mainstream football, out of the league. You might be able to find a way back. Sometimes taking a step back is the best way to take a step forward.
Yeah, well, good luck to him. Hopefully, hopefully hits the ground running and, gets himself a contract. I'd love to see a local lad land something like that. Liam, just tell people what you do and where they can find you.
I think most people can find us now after last week. So you can find us on Twitter. I put it in my little name here, at Liam J. Kennedy 23. I work for a newspaper. I'm not an attention seeker. I just literally write what I know, try to keep fans informed. And I tell you what, we have a subscription system at the Shield Gazette. It'll cost you a little bit of money. It's only a couple of pounds for a couple of months. But if you like the kind of thing that I do on here, and you like the kind of thing that I've written, it's not always going to be positive. Who knows? In a week's time, I could be telling you the takeover's off. That's not what it's about. If you like the analysis, if you like the honest opinion, then come and help us out. Come and give us a little subscription and put the money in the pot. I know it's tough at the moment, and I would never ask this if I didn't have to, but that's the way life is. Journalism isn't always free, especially the good stuff. And unfortunately, you have to pay now. It's not all gifted to you on a plate. And any support that you guys can give me out there would be much appreciated.
Yeah, always worth following Liam on Twitter. So do follow him at Liam J Kennedy 23. And big night in America tonight. And I did nick this off hashtag 9 Newcastle Talks Twitter today. But good luck to Donald Trump in America. That's a brilliant photograph, isn't it? I did nick that off somebody on Twitter, but I'll not be staying up till 2:30 to watch that shambles. I'm just disappointed Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't run for election. Might as well have him after Trump. It's just it's like a comedy show. Barry says, "Will you be in the press tomorrow?" Liam Kennedy says, "Takeover is off." We'll keep that for next week. And Teresa, thanks for that. I'll have to have a read of Palms 91. I haven't read that for a while. Liam, as always, great time. Hope the kids enjoy the fireworks, and look forward to catching up with you again next Tuesday. Don't get in any Twitter fights. There's a good lad.
I won't.
Take care. Bye.
Cheers.